Greetings, sisters and brothers. This is Milton Alimadi. Please visit blackstarnews.com. And also you can reach me at malimadi@gmail.com. I want to speak briefly to sisters and brothers in Uganda. I want to focus today on two recent major stories. One is the arrest. I understand they're dropping charges now, but the arrest of Muhammad Kirumira, the police officer. And the second story is the story concerning corruption, the theft of money sent by the international community to help the refugees from South Sudan. I want to make a brief statement before I address these two issues. To fellow Ugandans, we have one of the most anti-African presidents in Uganda. If anybody wanted any other example, just recall recently after Donald Trump, the American president, insulted the entire African global community by referring to African countries as shithole countries. And the same with Haiti. And of course, people who know history know that if it's not for Africa's forced contribution in terms of enslaved labor and plundered resources, the United States would not be the industrial power it is today. Europe would not be the industrial power it is today. Africa's wealth continues to subsidize wealth and prosperity in the United States and Europe by the mere fact that Africa continues to be provider of raw materials and consumers of manufactured products. This relationship is pretty much the same as it was during the colonial regime. Structurally, economically, that has not changed. So for a beneficiary, Donald Trump, a beneficiary of Africa's wealth historically and in our contemporary era, to refer to the continent that feeds him, that's what it is, the continent that feeds him, as a shithole collection of shithole countries, and then to have a so-called African president, dictator Yoweri Museveni, to say that he loves Donald Trump because of that statement, it just shows you the kind of perverted mindset of the Ugandan dictator. So I wanted to get that out of the way first. It's a shame that Africa has produced Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela, Samora Machel, Empress Taitu Betul, Emperor Menelik, Gamal Abdel Nasser. You name it, there's no shortage. There's no shortage. And then we have Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. What a tragedy. But let me go back to the two issues that I wanted to address today. Concerning Muhammad Kirumira, this is a brave officer who denounced corruption by the Ugandan police, led by General Kayihura, Museveni's right hand enforcer of brutality. He denounced police involvement in murders, police involvement in banditry, the police involvement in killing of innocent Ugandans. This is an authentic national hero. And instead, he was the one who was arrested, dragged out of his home like a dog. Everybody who saw the TV news reports and the photographs saw what happened to this brave hero. But it's also a good sign. It shows that the facade of these functioning institutions are now being exposed. There must be many other brave officers in the police force and in the armed services, like Officer Muhammad Kirumira, who are willing to step forward. And we must encourage more of them to step forward. They are part of our family, part of the fabric of Ugandan society. If General Museveni is destructive to us Ugandans, it means he's also destructive to members of the police forces and the armed forces. So we must end this reign of tyranny in Uganda. The second point I want to talk about briefly is the corruption, the theft, the embezzlement of money sent by the international community to help the 1 million refugees from South Sudan who were displaced from their country. Why? Because in December 2013, General Museveni invaded South Sudan. Instead of helping to patch up the political friction and differences between President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar, he took sides in that conflict. As a result, the bloodshed escalated, the violence escalated, the sexual violence against women escalated, the massacres, including of children, escalated. That is where South Sudan finds itself today. The international community must become serious against this dictator and compel him to withdraw from South Sudan and stop supporting any faction in South Sudan so that peace can return to South Sudan and these displaced refugees return to their homes so they can grow their food and restore peace and send their children to school so they can have a better future. But the international community is also to blame. Right now in New York City, there's a trial of a Chinese businessman who's been bribing African leaders, including, allegedly, Sam Kutesa, Uganda's foreign minister, and General Museveni himself. The trial started when the indictment was unsealed in November. In 2016, Ambassador Deborah Malak, the U.S. ambassador to Uganda, condemned the Ugandan regime for stealing money that was sent to help with the healthcare system. With all this background knowledge, why would the international community allow the Museveni regime to handle any resources meant for the victims of the South Sudan conflict? Why? It is preposterous. So the international community also shares blame in this preposterous theft of money meant for victims of war in South Sudan. So let's monitor and see what happens now. Will they set up a mechanism to prevent any more money from being stolen by officials of the Museveni regime? Why would U.S. taxpayers allow their money to be stolen and not to reach the victims that the money is intended for? Americans should ask their elected officials, their members of Congress, and compel them to take action if there's no correction in this embezzlement. Thank you, sisters and brothers. Stay strong. May the Creator be with you and your family. Long live the youth of Uganda. They are our present and they are our future.